back. So in today's episode, we're just going to continue with our authentication. If you have watched in the previous episode, where we stopped is we registered the user and then we sent this verification token. That is where actually we reached. Okay. So, well, the first thing I'm just going to do, the first thing I'm just going to do is I'm just going to change a little bit this font, okay, to use a different font. That is something that is very easy. Let's just first change the font. So to the layout and just go to the master layout. So we have these components. So here we have this master layout. This one. Yeah, this one. So just go here where we have enter. I'm just going to instead get outfit. Okay, me get outfit and then change this to outfit, and then you can change this also to outfit, and then you can also change this to outfit. Just like that. Yes, done. Okay, so the second small thing I just want to change is so you can see the it has changed. Another thing I just want to change is this padding for this. I don't know if it is the height or padding. So I'm just going to go to our components. I'm just going to go to components and I'm just going to go to front, and in the front I'm just going to have the navbar. So in the nav I'm just going to, so this header for it has no height. This one has padding of 4. So let's just say px is 8, and let me hope that is the padding that we have. So meaning here on the small screen, on the large screen we are using let's make this a link. Just make that a link. So I don't know where we have this whole height. Maybe is it the button? Let me just go and see this button. So py, let's make it 2, and we can leave the px. Okay. Yep. That is good. Um, mm, and let's just make this, instead of 4, I'm just going to make it to be so I'm just going to go to down here, and I'll just make this to have py of maybe 2.5. For px it can remain 4. Okay, yeah, so that's much better. Okay, so now we created the account. Now from this point, we need to actually go to the verify page. Okay, so if you just, I can go back to where what we did. Just going to go to the register. Just go to the register form, and this is in the components, I guess. We could just go to this page, front register page, and then we just go to this register form. Okay, so after we got this user, we need actually to go to some page. We just need to send to the verify page. So the first thing we're going to do inside our front, we're just going to create another page. Okay, we're just going to call it verify account. And this is going to be a dynamic page. So inside here, also create another folder of ID. So just going to send to a specific ID. And then inside this, let's create page.tsx. Okay. Now inside this, if we just go to this page we used yesterday in the docs up here. Okay, you see that we have the registration form, we have the API, and then you see that we have this create the verify token page. So here there is create the verify account dynamic page. Okay, so this is the verify account dynamic page we are trying to create, and you can just go ahead and add this code. So here, okay, and in this one, what we are doing basically, before we just get this, is that basically we are actually having a verify account page where we have the params we can access to this ID, verify account ID. Here we can access it by params, and this is how you annotate params. You have the params ID, and then from there we're just going to get a user, and then from this user we can look at the token. Remember, on the Prisma Studio, we created this user and sent the token. So if you look at the token is here, 975201. So this token is what we send to this user. So what we need is we have to get the saved user from the database. Okay, get user from DB. And then after getting this user from DB, we just get there the user token. So after getting the user token, we can just go ahead and compare with the one we sent to the email to the user. And then the user can enter that token here. So the first thing we can also do is create this server action, get user by ID. So I'm just going to create this server action. So in the actions user, I'm just going to get a user by ID. So just go ahead and minimize this. So just say export. I'm just going to say export async function. Okay, and it's going to be get user by ID. So this ID is the string. Okay, so let's just say this. We can just say if ID, if the ID is given, then we can just go ahead and then we do a try catch. Okay, so inside this we're just going to get a user. So const user is equal to await. We called it Prisma client dot user dot find unique. Okay, find unique, and then inside this we're just going to say where id. Okay, so just going to say find unique where id, and then we can, if this we get this user, we can just return user, as simple as that. So you can just return the user, and if there is any errors, we can just go ahead and see console.log error. Okay, for now. So just go to this. Now we have this user. We can now go ahead and send this here. So on this verify, let me first import this. Okay, so now we are able to get this user token. Okay, so user token is user dot. So you can see here on this user, we have the token. Okay, so now we can have this token just like this, and then we have this section which is just having just like a shadow, and that's it. And then here you say verify account, and then we have this verify token form. So just go ahead and create this component. So you can just create that component, and here you can see create the verify token component. The verify token component requires you to install the following dependencies. So this token form component we are going to use is from shard. So you can just go to shard, and we're just going to use this new component they have called the input OTP. So just going to use this one. Okay, just going to use this one, and you can scroll down to where they used it in the form, just here, just like this one. So it should look like something like this. The good thing with this one, if you say 1 2 3 4 5 6, so you can see it gives you this nice input whereby you have this which goes like this. It is a nice component, I like it. So just going to use this one. Okay, so if you look at the dependencies for this, inside one you need Zod, and then of course when you install Zod and React Hook Forms, you need the hook form resolvers, as we had discussed in one of the videos. Then we need the form, then we need also the input OTP component. Okay, so we can just go ahead and install those ones, and I put them here. So just say the first one is to install the Zod, hook form, and React icons. I don't know if we already have React icons. So let's just say here, create another terminal, and then let's go ahead and install this. So I'm installing Zod, hook form resolvers, and React icons. Okay. Okay, so this has installed. Let's go ahead and install the shard. So you're just going to add the form and the input OTP. Those are the two components you want the form and the input OTP. So just go ahead and also install these ones. Okay. So meanwhile, let's create this verify token component, and we can just create it in the let me just see. So this verify token component, you can just create it in components direct verify token. So let me just go to components, and you could just add it in the front end. So you can just go in the front end and add this verify token form.tsx, and then inside here we can just go ahead and add this component. So I added this component here. So basically I got this component, as I said, I got it from shard. This it is this very one. Just made some few modifications. Okay, so as you the first thing you can see is that it is simply using this form schema, and in the form schema we're just only looking at the token. It is a string with a minimum number of 6 characters. Okay, message one time password. So you can just say here the token should be your token must be 6 characters, as simple as that. And this is just the Zod schema, and then we use this Zod schema to pass it in the use form. So if you just come down here to the use form, okay, so we use this form is equal use form, and we invite type of the form schema, and then from there we pass in the Zod resolvers, and then by default the Zod the token is empty, and then the most important is this is the form. The form has this is the how all the forms, the only thing they added in was this input OTP. This is the new component, this input OTP, and the input OTP takes in a group. Okay, if you want it in 2 groups, you can see I have 2 groups, the OTP group, and then I have a separator. You can just go and read this about this component, this OTP. They have explained it very well. They have a separator here. If you want to add these separators, the important thing, you just make sure that you use you create different groups. So you can see you have the input OTP. You can specify the maximum number of characters you want to enter, and then you divide the groups. So for instance, you say that I want a slot of 01 to be in one group, and then you add a separator, and then you say input another group. I want to be 2, 3, like that. So you end up having those 3 groups. So here I wanted only 2 groups. That's why I have in each group I created three slots. You can see 1 to 0, 1 up to 2, and then the remaining 3, 4, 5, I created them in another group, and I separated them using a separator. And then you put them in the form control, or like the form input. And then I have the form description. Please enter the 6-figure passcode sent to your email. Okay. And then here the label is please enter the token here. And then we have the submit button, and it is on the form. Of course, on the form, we pass in on submit, and then we have this handle submit, and we pass in this on submit. Okay. Then the whole logic now is inside this. Okay. So here, whatever the person passes in, okay, whatever the person passes in here, we're just going to have it we can just access it here. Okay. Before I can just go ahead and just comment out all this code. Okay. I can just go ahead and comment all this code here, just like this. And let me also just go ahead and first get this off, update user by ID. Yeah. So now we should have a form and we can get whatever they have entered. We have something this side. What is it saying? Okay, let's just import this, verify token form, and let's go to that. So you can go to this. For now, we can just look at the ID we have from the database. It is this ID. Just going to copy this, copy, and let's go to verify account, and let me pass in this ID. Okay, so I'm just rendering this verify account page, and want to look at how it looks like. Okay, and this is how it looks like. Really nice. I love it. So you may just find that. We just need to enter the token here. So right now, if I inspect, okay, let's inspect. So if I enter something here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, submit. So you can see we have the token with 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So this token, remember the one we have in the database is a number. So the first thing to do is to actually convert this into a number. And that's why you see here, const the user input token is converted into a number like this. So if I just go here, I now console the user token, user input token, the one the person has put in, we have now converted it into a number by using parseInt. Okay, so now if we just go ahead and console one more time, now we have a number. That is one thing. So the second thing is now we have the token that we actually got from the actual token that is in the database, and we are passing in into this component here. You can see we have the verify token form, and we are sending the user token that we got from the database and the ID of the user. Okay, so we have the two things, the token that was sent to the database and the ID. Now here we have to compare it with the token that has been entered, which is this user input token. So the first thing is I created a notification here, and a notification is just saying wrong token, please check the token, and I hidden it using this show notification. So I created this here. So notification set show notification, by default it is false. So if you just go and make this true, so that you can see how this one looks like. Okay, so you can see how it says wrong token, please check the token and enter again. So this one is the error message that should show if you enter a wrong token. Okay, so by default, this is going to be hidden. Okay, and for this, just make it back to false. And for this, I'm using the alert component from Flowbyte React. you can just go ahead and check on it. You can just go and say flow byte React. And in the flow byte React, you can just go ahead and get the alert. So they have this alert. Okay, so they have these alerts here, and the alert I used is this one. Okay, this is the component here. Okay, you can just go ahead and use it just like that. Okay, great. So moving on, is that so when someone puts in, so we have to compare. So I have to go ahead and let me just comment this. Okay, so we compare if the user input is equal to the user token. If this is true, then we set the notification to false, and then we try to update the user status. Okay, so we can just update the user to verified. Okay, this would be verified user. Okay, and then you can see toast account verified, and then we push them to the login to actually log in. Okay, so if it is false, you can see in the errors part, you can see in the errors part we are set showing notification to true and set loading to false. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and create this update user by ID. So I'm just going to copy this. Let's go to actions. So in the actions, I'm just going to create export async function update user by ID, just like that. And of course, the ID is a string. Okay, and I'm just going to say if ID. So go ahead and draw a try catch. Okay, so here we're just going to try to update the user. So const updated user. So just going to update the user is equal to await Prisma client dot user dot update. Okay, and then this takes in two things: the where. Okay, so where ID. Okay, where ID. What's wrong here? Update oit prisma dot update prisma where ID, and then down here we have also the data, just like this. And in the data we just want to modify, so we can't just have this. If you remember on the UI, you can remember this. So we have the is verified here. We have this is verified, and we're just going to check this. So I just want to, you can copy this field here. I'm just going to copy this from the Prisma. So I'm just going to go to Prisma, to the schema, and we're just getting this. So you notice the spelling is wrong, but since we have used this, let's just stick to this. Just go back to where is our action. Go back to where data. So data we change is verified, and we are changing it to true. Okay, that is the only thing we are doing. So we update the user like that. We where ID, and the data we are sending is that. And if everything goes well, we can just go ahead and return the updated user. Okay, so very easy like that. And then here we can just go ahead and console.log the error, just in case the error is there. Okay, so now we can just go ahead and use this in the verify token. Okay, so you can see here update user by ID. Okay, update, we pass in the ID. In the ID we are passing in is the ID that comes here, user token, and then ID. Okay, and you could just also go ahead and annotate this as a number if you want, because when it comes, if you go and check in the page, I think it's supposed to come as a number, I guess. If you just come here and you check this, you can see it is a number or undefined. So just like this, we can just go ahead and give it nice annotations here, where you can just do this number or undefined instead of just giving it any. Okay, great. So now we should test it if it works. So we're just going to first try a wrong one. So we should, after it is good, we are pushing router.push to login, and here you have the router is use router from router navigation. Okay, from the next navigation here. So just go and check. So I'm just going to refresh, and let's enter the wrong one. 1 2 3 4 5 6, submit, and you can see it checks wrong token. Please check the token and enter again. So let's enter the actual token. So the token was sent is this one. I'm just going, I don't know if I copy it, does it paste? So refresh and paste this. Okay, so you can see it pastes very nicely. So just go and submit. Okay, and account verified, and you can see we have been sent to the login. Okay, so if you check in the database, I'm just going to go ahead, refresh this. What you want to check is that this is verified now is actually true. Okay, so now it has been converted to true, and we can always check this when someone logs in. We can check if they are verified, and there is no way someone, if they try to log in, so just going to say on the login, if someone tries to log in and they are not verified, we can just also go ahead and try to refuse or send an error to them. Okay, so that's great. So now we have this the login. Okay, so the first thing we want is to make sure if we send this email and the password, we can do this. So the the part for the login, okay, we're just going to use NextAuth. Now, NextAuth, they have been going a lot of changes for sure. If you just go to their documentation, I don't know how many versions they are having so far, but when you just go to NextAuth, just like that, so you'll see that they have NextAuth.js, okay? They have this NextAuth.js, and if you just check on the versions, they have version 3 and version 4. Now, there is NextAuth and then there is Auth.js. So if you just click here, you see that we are on version 4, okay? And this is the NextAuth. At the same time, they have another documentation called Auth.js, okay? Their new documentation. And for Auth.js, they are actually in another version. So if you click on getting started, so you can see this is really a different one. If you just click here, for instance, NextAuth, okay, so you can see here they take you here on the example, okay, they take you to the example, and then from here you can click on this documentation. Now you see that now this is version 5 of NextAuth, and it's saying if you're looking for migration from 4, visit the upgrade guide to version 5. So like this is really confusing. Okay, so let's first get to this installing NextAuth. Just try to use this one. Just first let's install NextAuth. Okay, and we might just not follow the ones we have in this because in the documentation, installing the NextAuth beta, and this is the one from the Auth.js. Let's first leave this one for a second, and we stick to NextAuth. And I think if you're using TypeScript, Next.js comes with its type definition within the package. To learn more about TypeScript NextAuth, check out TypeScript documentation. Now, we have another TypeScript documentation. So they say Next.js has its own type definition to use TypeScript project safely, even if you don't use TypeScript. IDs like VS Code will pick up, provide you better developer experience. If you are willing, check out the example repository so requesting NextAuth on a Next.js application with TypeScript. Now they have a GitHub repo with TypeScript. So another one is the adapters, NextAuth adapters. Okay. So of course, when you're installing, we need this, and let's follow what they're saying. You have to add, and if you're using this above, of course, you used to use this new guide. Okay, so you have to create this here. In the app API, you have to create the auth, next auth, this catch auth route. So that's what you need to first do. So if you just go back in here, we have the API route? We don't. So in the app, just go ahead and create the API. So I'm just going to copy this here. Copy API just like this. Right click, copy, and go to the app. Let's create a new file in the app just like this and paste this. So this will create the API folder, create the auth and NextAuth folder. Inside it puts route.ts. Good. And then let's go ahead and import NextAuth. So you can see import NextAuth, and then so just copy this inside here, just like this. So inside here, we're just going to put the auth options. Okay. So the auth options, of course, you said they differ for each of the providers. Each will actually differ. Okay. So we just need to create the auth options. Okay. So if you just go down here, they have the options, and these are like we're going to look at these ones, they create and blah blah. Now just simply click on this the providers, but before that the thing we just need is actually the adapters. Okay, so we need to install the adapters. You can first go and right click on this. Okay, providers, and the providers we want, just scroll. We just want adapters. Just click on adapters, and we just want for Prisma. Okay, so you can see here the ones we need to install on the adapters: npm install Prisma client and this Prisma adapter. So we already have Prisma client, but nevertheless, let's just go ahead and install this first line. We also have Prisma already installed. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit and enter that. So installing the auth Prisma adapter. Okay, we already have Prisma, and this is how you're supposed to initialize it. Prisma adapter, just like this. And setup, they say add this to your auth.ts, and this is the one that is going to be having this. You have the Prisma, and then you have the Prisma adapter from the Prisma auth Prisma adapter, and then you pass in the adapter just like this. Now we are using the credentials. Okay, we're using credentials. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this. So if you just go back to this site, okay. So just going to create this config, and then inside this config you can put auth.js. So you can create any file, you can use any place you want. Get the auth options. For instance, we can put in the lib. For instance, I can go in the lib, and I'm just going to say auth .ts, and this way I'm going to put the auth options, and you can just go ahead and put this. Okay, the auth options. We have a lot in this, but just a minute, I will explain. So the first thing is we need to get the Prisma client. Okay, the Prisma client, we are having it. You can see that the Prisma client we are using in the actions. We have our Prisma client from libdb. So you can just copy this line and go to this. And instead of getting it from this, we are getting it from libdb. Okay, great. So the another thing is that we are not using this Google provider and the email provider. So you can just go ahead and remove them. I just put them here in the providers just in case you want to use them. I was putting them for you. If you just want, you can just go ahead in the providers and remove these two providers, the Google provider and the email provider, and remain with the credentials. Okay. So the first thing in this one, you can just go ahead and also remove this to avoid the confusion. Okay. So the most important thing is you can see we are getting the types, but this is where the things are getting important. You can see here they have this. If you don't have this as adapter, trust me, you'll not pass this step. Whenever you have adapter, Prisma adapter like this, you will always get this error here. Okay, adapter is not assignable type, blah 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 like that. So you need to actually, after searching for a long period of time, because this is what they tell you to put, adapter is Prisma adapter, as simple as that. If you just go and check in their documentation, just on the adapters, I think is here. So you can see on the adapter, they tell to put adapter is Prisma adapter, just like this. Now, if you just in JavaScript, normal JavaScript, it will work. But when you just here in TypeScript, it will not work. Okay? There is nowhere whatsoever they actually annotate the types for this properly. Okay? So I had to go ahead and add this as adapter, and then you have to import this adapter, the types of adapter from NextAuth adapters, just like this. And this one will help you to pass this here. It took me a lot of time to configure this, guys. Then for the secret, we have to have the NextAuth secret. Let me just get you can just go to the MV somewhere in the documentation. We need the NextAuth secret here, and you can check your envy if you have the NextAuth secret. You see we don't have it, so let's go ahead and add it. So if you just go to back to the documentation here, you can just simply scroll down. This is where at last I put the next your envy. Just you can just go ahead and copy this NextAuth URL, NextAuth secret. You can just go ahead and copy these ones just like this. Okay, and let's go back to the app and just put this here, NextAuth URL and NextAuth secret, as simple as that. Now we might just not do this one. I don't think there is anywhere we use this. I can just comment it out for now. So we have NextAuth secret. You can put any random number, and next URL is this URL. Okay, going back in here. Of course, we have already talked about if you have bcrypt, we installed its the only challenging part it was on this adapter. Now moving on down, you have to specify the pages, and you put where we have the sign-in page, and the sign-in page is on /login. Here /login is where we have the sign-in page. So go ahead and do that. Then we have the credentials provider, which we're using credentials. Now, this, you can just go ahead and go back to this, and you can just go to providers, and this here credentials. After this, you just go and read about this. Okay. So they discourage people to use credentials, but most times you're going to see like all the systems, almost all the functioning systems on internet, you'll find that most of the big systems, they have to use credentials. And the purpose with this is that they want full control of their clients. So you can imagine if you used like Google provider, GitHub, whatever. And if you know that your users, that you're going to make that system, you're going to, most of the systems, they stick to credentials, and just depending on the type of clients they have. If you're going to create a system and you find that your clients take, they understand tech, okay, or they are tech gurus, not tech gurus, but they have no problem with technology. I mean, they have Gmail update and they can maneuver some things. It is good you can use the social logins like Gmail, GitHub, and so on. But if you know you have a lot of clients and those clients, they have no, they are not so much intake, they might have issues with their Gmail and they don't know how to figure that out. Or they might have issues with their GitHub and they don't know how to figure that out. That tells you that your client can be locked out by a third party vendor and you have no control about it. For instance, if a person have issues logging into their Gmail or their Gmail is not working anymore, and you are going to use that account sign into your application, and for some reason it is not possible, you have no control on how to help that user. But if you're using credentials, since all the data is saved in your database, you can go ahead and help that client, maybe reset the password or do anything. So that's how helpful it is to use credentials. And that's why you see it has always been, it has remained there almost on all these on the internet. Okay, so that's why you're using the credentials. Okay, so they just go here, they give you this code. You can just go ahead and read through. The most important thing, of course, is this, the authorize function. So I already have figured this out for you guys. So just going to go through instead of wasting out of time. But if just here basically on the providers, you have credentials and you specify the name credentials, and you can just have the credentials. Now by default, actually, that's why you have to specify the sign-in page. By default, actually the NextAuth builds its own UI. They have their own UI here. Okay, they have their own UI by default. That's why if you don't specify the sign-in page, they will actually sign you the sign-in page. They have this, that's why they have these credentials here, the name and password. Okay, so just go ahead and the most important function is this a authorize function, where you have access to the credentials and the request. So let's just go through ours. So we're using email and password, okay, and then we have access to the credentials. So the first thing is I just went here and console.log authorize function code with credentials. Okay, this is just for checking, and then we start making different checks. Okay, if credential.email or if credentials.password, for instance, if they don't put the email and password, they don't put anything, we throw this error, no inputs found, status 401. Now we already have this one controlled on the UI by making sure that if someone is going to do anything, we have the email and password enforced on the UI, so there is no way they are going to reach this site. Okay. Okay, moving on is that if everything is okay, existing user, so if they pass, that's what we say here, pass one checked, that means like they passed this check, they put the credentials, which most likely they are going to pass it, because we already control this on the UI. So the second check if the user exists. So we go ahead and check if the user exists. And we are using the Prisma client instance that we have .user.findUnique, where email is credentials.email. So this one is to check and get us existing user. Okay. So just go here on if there is no user with this email, then we throw another error. Error, no user found, status 40. Just even just say 404. Okay. And if they pass this, they would have passed the second check. That's why here I have passed checked, pass two checked, and like they have passed that one. So if they go ahead and we get the user, we can just now get the password match, which is Boolean here. And what we are doing here with this password match is just simply to just get here to get it as a result. So if existing user and existing user dot password, like this user has a password, okay, then we run the password match. Okay, so by default the password match is false, and we say password match is equal to await compare, and this compare comes from bcrypt. You pass it with the raw password plus the existing password, which is of course hashed, and then it will tell us either it has like it is true or false. So if the password match is not true, then we just go ahead and throw this, say password is incorrect. Okay. And then lastly, if the password everything matches, we now return a user, or we create the user with the ID, name, email, and role. Okay. So you could just go ahead and put also the image if you had it. Okay. When they log in. Okay. And then now this is what is going to be in the session. So you can just say here, user compiled, you can also console.loader, and we return the user. Okay. So now when all that one done, we now have the callbacks. Okay. So in the callback, okay. So in the callback, we have the JWT and the session. So these are like the two functions, and how these functions run. The first one that runs is the JWT. So JWT runs fast and is getting a DB user. And so we are passing in this user. Okay. We are passing in the token and the user. That's why they're having this email. What is this? DB prisma.user.findFast. Where, and there's the problem here, type string or undefined is instead of end string, string user undefined. Type null is not assignable, type string. Okay, so now basically here we just want to get the token and populate it with this. Now, while we are getting this, there is actually, these ones are for the login purposes, but now this is getting more details on the user. Okay. And I think we could still, pass in minus scoring this. Okay. We could just get this user that we have just passed. Let me just, for instance, let me first comment this. Let's see if we can just go ahead and, for instance, get all this information from the user. So if I just say, for instance, is user.id, name is user.name, email is user.email, role is user.this. Now you can see we have this role does not exist on the type user from the adapter user. You see? Okay, and this user comes from the adapter. Okay, so you could either just go ahead and change this, the type definitions of this, and add this role on the token. We could just go ahead and add these to the picture. Let me see if I add them here. For instance, if I just go ahead and you see on this user, it is there, the role. Okay, and you could just also go ahead and say, for instance, picture. Was it like picture is existing user dot image? I think there is image URL. Image URL. Is it? It is called image. Okay, it is called image. Just like that. Okay, and then here, but you see this we are editing. You can see that the role is not on this type user, and the user we are accessing here is this from the adapter user. Okay, so now that's why we actually need to get our own user from the DB. Okay, we just need to get our own user from the DB, and that means everything here comes from this DB user. Okay, just take this. Okay. Okay, so now the only problem we have is this email. Is token dot email. When trigger is sign in or sign up, it will be a subset of name, email, picture will be included. Otherwise, it will be. So now we have this email. Okay. User.find where email is token dot email. Okay, let's just look at any other possible errors in the session. So in the session, after getting whatever from the token, if token and session.user, then we can modify this. ID does not exist on the type. Okay, so we need to make, I think, just a second. Okay, we just have to check the type definitions, these ones here. You can see on the session user, just a second. Okay, so if you see right now the problems we are having for this, the NextAuth, this JWT, okay, so we're having issues with JWT types. You can see down Here they are not allowing us to add, and even in this session. Okay. So one thing that you have to do is when you add these other, by default, the session user has only the name, email, and image. Only these three. It doesn't have the ID and this role. So the one thing you have to do is to update the session user or for NextAuth. Okay. Then another thing is also to update this token, the JWT token. We have to add in some other things. For instance, this ID and also the role. So to do that, we just need to go, and I've just added this, updated this in the docs. Okay. So now when you just go after this next auth, there is this update the next auth types for the token and session. So create next auth.d.ts file, and let's add these ones. So create the next auth. So in the types, so just go to where we have types for them, and in this, create a new file called NextAuth, just like that, .d.ts, just like that, and let's add this. Okay. So the first thing you can see, we get NextAuth from NextAuth. We get the user role from the Prisma client. So these are just the enum, the user admin and doctor. Then we also get this user from NextAuth, and of course the JWT. So the first thing here in the JWT, we want to add interface. You can see we're extending the interface of JWT, and we are adding the ID and the role. And then down here, we also from NextAuth, we are actually extending the interface of session, and inside it, we are actually adding the ID and role to the user, to the session user. Now this, and by the way, can we first import this auth options here? Let's just first bring this auth options, just like that. So let's go back to our auth. Okay. So you can see that the errors we had for the session, now they are gone because all these ones are now available. Now we remain with only one error, okay, which is this email. Type string null or undefined is not assignable to type string or string filter user stock undefined. The type null is not assignable to type string or undefined. So why is this email token dot email being null? What is sent from the token? When the token is generated, don't we have the email from the token? Default dot email. So maybe we just put this token dot email. I don't know. Why am I getting this? The type null string user not defined. Where do I get this string filter? Here the annotation for the email is this. Email has these types. How do I annotate that? Maybe we put in if token. Let's say here if token. I'm not sure. Still we have the same thing. DB user Prisma client dot find user dot find first. You could also just use find unique. It will still work, but doesn't matter. Whatever I just use here. The expected types come from the property email, which is declared here, and the type. Where unique input. And at this point, the token has no ID. We would use the token.id, but the token has no ID yet. How do we annotate this to have like any? Just a sec. Okay, so after thinking about it for some time, if you just look at our error, type string null or undefined is not assignable type string or undefined. Therefore, this must always actually be a string or undefined. So right now, they are saying this token is having a possibility of being undefined. Okay, so what we can just do is simply actually adding a default of string. As simple as that. Man, you don't know how it can take time to actually just think like this. By TypeScript, it saves you and makes you really think outside the box. So just give it a default value of empty string, and there it actually works. Okay, and as simple as that, we have no errors. Okay, so now we have to try and check. Okay, we have to try and check. So now we have these auth options. The next thing is set up our check up the login form, and we add some things in the login form. More especially inside this on submit function. Okay, the on submit, we are going to do a try catch. So let me just do this. So just going to try and do a try catch in the login. So just go to the login form, which is in components auth login form. Okay. So right now the login form is giving us data, which is good. So you can just go ahead and now let's add in some things. Okay. First of all is the loading. So we must have the loading, and we called it is loading. So wherever we have this is going to be set is loading. Okay, just change this. Set is loading, and this set is loading. And of course, the toast, we can get the toast from React for toast, and we can also create the router if everything is okay. So I'm just going to say here const router is equal to use router from next navigation. Okay, and then we have set notification. So let me just create that. So duplicate this and just say show notification and here is going to be set show notification. Show notification, set show notification. And finally, we have still this set is loading. And we still have this sign in function. So we can just go and get this from sign in function from NextAuth. So the sign in function, if you just go here, sign in function is from NextAuth React. Okay, just like this, NextAuth React. And that is the one that connects this function is the one that actually connects whatever we are doing here. Okay, and then we have to show the notification here just in case we have some errors. Okay, this notification we have here is going to be here saying sign in error, please check your credentials. And let me just go here under the form. Let's add this, get this from byte React, and this one is going to be getting from React icons. Okay, so just understand what we are doing here. So when we submit the data, of course, we have our inputs or the data, which has the email and password. And by the way, you make sure that this your data you are sending here is the object containing the email and password. If you look here, we have the email and password. So we are okay, and your object should be like this, because in your JWT, you are not JWT, in your auth options, you're expecting data to be of this format, the email and password. So when that one is done, and you enforce this to be using this, your props, and the ones that you are sending from this, the email and the password. So when that one is done, okay, when that one is done, we can just go in and we'll wait for the sign in. So this sign in function, it calls the type if here. It takes in credentials, can take in Google, it can take in GitHub, all the credential, all the providers. Right now we are calling the credentials provider. And then we provide it two things, the data and the redirect. Okay, so we spread the data. Remember, the data is the email and password, so we spread it here, and this will be sent to the auth options in the authorize function. So when that one happens, we await for the response from this one. Okay, if there is any error, okay, because this will return if we throw any error. So we say error login data dot error, that means we are throwing a lot of errors in the auth options, if you remember where we did this here, we are checking and we are throwing a lot of errors on the way. And the probable error that you're going to have is going to be on the password match. As you see, the first check is checking if the credentials really are correct. This one, you are already checking it on the UI. So the most probably check is going to be if there is no user, or if there is the password is incorrect. So if we get any of those errors, if there's any error, we set loading to false, and we also test sign in error, check your credentials, and we also show this notification, set show notification to true, and this one is going to show them on the stuff on the UI is going to show this error saying sign in error, please check your credentials. Okay, and then if everything is fine, if there is no any error, now we set notification to false, we reset the form, set loading to false, toast success, and then we router to the dashboard. Okay, if everything is okay, let's just go and refresh and see. On the login, refresh, try to log in without details. Let's go ahead and put the details. I'm just going to first try put wrong details so that we see what happens. So I'm just going to put the email, but the password, let me put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's try to log in. Logging you in, please wait. Okay, so you can see we have the notification sign in error, please check your credentials. And we have a nice error here, sign in error, please check your credentials. And now let's go ahead and put the right one. I think it was test. I'm not sure. Was it test? Okay, so you can see now login successful, the form was empty, and we are routed to the dashboard. Okay, so congratulations, we have been able to add authentication successfully. If you just go and check this, the terminal, all the checks are consoling here. You can see we have the user, we have all these things being done, guys. Congratulations, we have done this. Okay, you can see the whole user is here with everything, including is verified, blah blah, checks have been done and everything. Okay, so that is really great. Thank you so much for really staying around and watching this episode. So I'm just going to wait you guys to digest this, and we'll come up with the next episode. Okay, thank you so much for watching this episode. I will see you and when you are working on the next part, which is going to be, I think, the doctor part, where we're going to edit for the doctor part. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.